first time I saw him, I thought he was just part of the weather. The fog had rolled in thick that morning, swallowing the Appalachian ridge in a sheet of cold gray that hung low over the treetops like breath frozen in time. I was halfway through a solo backpacking trip, 4 days in, too deep to turn around, too stubborn to admit I hadn't planned for the strange moods of the mountain. The trail I followed was old, half forgotten, stitched through the Virginia wilderness with no markers and no promise. By noon, I couldn't see 10 feet ahead. I pitched my tent early near a creek that whispered louder than it should have, the kind of sound that echoes inside you when everything else is silent. I built a small fire, ate something dry, sat with my back to a tree, and watched the fog curl around the branches like it was tasting them. That's when I saw him. At first, just a silhouette, slender, still, standing between 2 dogwoods across the creek, not moving, not blinking, just there, half obscured by fog, but too dark to be part of it. My gut didn't clench. My mind didn't scream. Instead, something deeper, a primal kind of knowing, settled into my spine like the memory of a wound. I raised a hand. He didn't raise his. I stood. He vanished. The next morning, I found a dead rabbit hanging from the tree above my tent. Its fur was soaked, strung up by its hind legs, with something that looked like braided grass and human hair. Its stomach was sliced open, but not messy. Precise, clean, like someone had studied how to do it right. I stared at it for a long time, trying to find a logical thread, some explanation I could wear like armor. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not from fear, from something colder, something older. I left camp fast, barely packed. My boots bit into the earth with more urgency than direction. The trail wound tighter, narrower, until it was little more than a deer path, hemmed by trees that leaned too close, bark glistening with moss like wet skin. By evening, I was hopelessly turned around. The sun never fully set that night. The fog returned, thicker now, with weight behind it. It pressed into my tent, coiled in my lungs, blurred the line between inside and out. I lit a lantern, its glow barely pushing back the gray. I tried not to blink. At some point, the zipper twitched. Not fully. Just a tremble, like a hand had brushed it from outside. I froze. Then came the voice. Low, crackling, barely formed, like it had to fight to be words. You're far from where you meant to be. I didn't respond. Don't leave yet. He's not done. Silence. And then the zipper slowly, methodically began to open. I lunged, knife in hand, and slashed blindly through the tent wall, tore through nylon and fog alike, heart thundering like boots on hollow floorboards. No one was there, but the grass was warm. The third day, I found the cabin. Old, crooked, leaning like it was too tired to stand. One window, no glass. Door hanging by a single hinge. I should have walked past it. I wanted to, but I didn't. Inside, the air smelled like wet teeth. The walls were etched with names, hundreds of them, scratched deep into the wood with something jagged. Some had dates, others had nothing. I ran my fingers across one. E. Macklin, 1973. The fireplace held bones, small ones. On the far wall, a mirror. Cracked. Wrong. It didn't reflect me. It showed the forest outside. The same trees, same fog. But in the mirror's version, a man stood behind me, closer than breath. I spun. Nothing. But the scent that hit me was thick. Copper. Earth. Rot. Something had been here. Recently. That night I tried to sleep with my back to the mirror. But dreams bled through. Hands made of bark and teeth, faces sewn shut, a whisper in my ear that didn't use words but still meant run. I woke to find the names on my arm. Carved. Fresh. Bleeding. My name was the newest. I ran. For hours. Until my legs screamed and my breath sawed in and out like a dull blade. The trees stretched wrong, taller than they had any right to be, branches curling down like fingers. The fog followed. At the edge of a ravine, I saw him again. Closer now. He wore a hunter's jacket. Old. Filthy. Eyes black and too wide. Mouth stitched with thread that didn't hold. In one hand, a knife. In the other, something small and twitching. He didn't run. He just stepped forward, and the forest moved with him. I jumped. I woke in a ranger station. Broken leg. Dehydrated. Hypothermic. They said I'd wandered into a dead section of the mountain. No trails. No cabins. Nothing for miles. When they pulled off my shirt to check for injuries, they asked about the names carved into my skin. I couldn't answer. They were already scarring. But last night, in my apartment 3 states away, I heard the fog return. It pressed against the windows like a mouth trying to kiss the glass. And just before the power died, the mirror in the hallway showed a reflection of the forest and a man standing behind me, smiling. I was born with an itch in my bones, a kind of quiet, clawing hunger to be alone in the wild. Some people go to church. I go to the woods. Not for the thrill, not for some transcendental connection to nature. Just peace. The kind of peace you don't get in towns where the streetlights never sleep and every third breath tastes like somebody else's exhaust. That's how I ended up on a week-long solo hike through a lesser-known trail near the Tennessee-North Carolina border, a stretch of the Appalachian Mountains that even seasoned rangers shrug off as pretty but pointless. That phrase stuck with me. Pretty but pointless. Like a stitched-up corpse in a wedding dress. The first 2 days were uneventful. Crisp leaves underfoot. Distant birdsong. The kind of clean, sharp air that makes your lungs sting a little on the inhale. But by day 3, I'd taken a wrong turn. One of those subtle divergences where the earth seems to open a new path, just for you. The trail narrowed, the dirt grew darker, and the trees began to lean in close, like they were whispering about me behind leaf-thin hands. The wind changed. Not speed or temperature, tone. That's the only way I can describe it. The breeze stopped feeling like something that passed through the forest and started feeling like something that moved within it. Like breath in a sleeping mouth. I kept walking. It wasn't until I reached the clearing that I noticed how long the silence had been sitting on me. No birds, no bugs, no wind. Just me and a dilapidated shack, dead center of the clearing, like something that had been dropped there by accident and forgotten. It wasn't big. Maybe 15 feet wide, sloped roof, shingles like rotting teeth. One window, no glass. Just a greasy curtain swaying as if something behind it had just ducked out of view. I told myself not to approach. Not because I was afraid. At least that's what I told myself. But because it didn't make sense for it to be there. No trail led to it. No fire pit. No boots on the porch. Just a house in a wide circle of beaten down grass, flattened like something heavy had spiraled around it, again and again, until the land remembered its weight. I turned to leave. That's when I heard the voice. "You look just like him." It was a man's voice, but the kind of voice that came after the man. Rasping, thin, the scrape of a shovel against stone. I spun around and he was already halfway across the clearing. He wore a flannel shirt so faded it looked more skin than fabric, jeans that clung to his legs like wet paper, and a wide grin that never reached his eyes. Those eyes were too far apart, too pale, like someone had carved them in after forgetting where they should go. "I'm sorry," I said automatically, stepping back. "I didn't know this place was occupied." He chuckled and the sound felt wrong, like a saw catching on bone. "No one owns this land," he said. "No one but what lives underneath." I laughed, the way you laugh when your breath stutters without permission. "Is this part of a park or private property?" He took a step closer. His boots didn't make a sound. "You're bleeding," he said, pointing. I looked down, a small scratch on my palm, where a branch must have clipped me earlier. "You'll want to be careful with that. Blood draws things out here, things that remember the old ways." His voice had dropped an octave. "Things that walk on two legs." Now. I backed up slowly. His grin widened. "I think I should be going." He nodded. "You already are." Then he turned and walked into the shack. Not through the door, through the wall. I ran. I didn't check the compass. Didn't look for my map. Just ran until the sun dipped low and the trees thickened like a noose around me. I camped that night in a hollow beneath a fallen oak, trying to convince myself I'd missing it, that I was dehydrated, starving, tired. I woke up with scratches on my calves. 3 of them, thin, deep, and perfectly parallel. It got worse from there. Every night I heard footsteps circling the tent. Slow, deliberate, crunch, pause, crunch, pause. Like it knew I was listening. Like it wanted me to know it wasn't trying to be quiet. One morning I woke to find the tent zipper open. Just an inch. Like someone had leaned in and taken a long look at me. Another morning, all my food was gone. Third morning, my boots were wet. It hadn't rained. The final night, I didn't sleep. I sat with the hatchet in my lap, breathing slow, eyes locked on the dark just beyond the campfire's reach. Around 2 a.m., I saw him again, standing at the edge of the light, grinning. Only this time, his shirt was mine. The same one I wore yesterday. Still had the coffee stain on the sleeve. Still smelled like me. His face had changed too, closer to mine, like clay shaped by memory. "You look just like him," he said. Then he lunged. I don't remember the fight, just the wet sound of the hatchet hitting something soft, the way he laughed when I buried it in his shoulder. He didn't scream, he just whispered, "Now you'll walk like me." And then he melted into the trees. Literally, melted, like wax under fire. I made it out the next morning, barefoot and half mad. A ranger found me mumbling on the side of a service road, clutching a wet flannel shirt that wasn't mine. The scratches on my legs never healed right. They pulse on cold nights, like something's crawling just beneath the skin. And every now and then, I catch my reflection doing things I'm not. Tilting its head, smiling too wide, waiting for someone else to find the trail. You don't realize how quiet the woods are until you stop moving. It's not just the silence, it's the way it wraps around you, seals you in like wax poured over skin. The kind of quiet that makes you hear things you shouldn't. Your heartbeat, your breath, the way your own tongue shifts behind your teeth. I was 4 miles deep in the Appalachian backcountry the day I met him. I didn't know that then, of course. At the time, I was just trying to find solitude, the way people from cities try to find God. I thought the mountains would be healing. romantic even, something to write about. I thought if I walked far enough from cell towers and deadlines and human noise, I'd find something pure. Instead, I found the trailhead to Cold Oak Loop. There was no marker, no ranger tape, no little wooden sign, with mile counts and elevation gain. Just a small break in the tree line, narrow and too straight, like something had carved it out rather than grown naturally. I should have kept going. I should have ignored it, like I ignore bad dreams or burnt toast. But I didn't, because Cold Oak Loop was the reason I was here. I first heard about it in an online forum, a shadowy old thread full of half-deleted posts and user accounts with no history. One photo, maybe, a pile of rocks arranged like a spiral, a caption that simply read, "You won't come back the same." Reddit dismissed it as a hoax, a few LARPers and weirdos tossing scary stories around like campfire sparks. But something about that spiral had stuck with me. The way the stones seemed to lean in toward themselves, like they were listening. So when I saw that break in the trees, I knew I was on the right trail. The path narrowed quick, trees pressing in from both sides like ribs closing around a lung. My boots sank into mud that smelled old. Not just damp earth old, graveyard old, fungal and sour. The air thinned, not from altitude, but something else, like breathing through gauze soaked in cold sweat. The first hour passed slow, the canopy blotting out most of the sun. I stopped once to piss and noticed that the woods were wrong. No birds, no bugs, just the sound of something big shifting far off, then nothing again, like a bear changing its mind. I picked up my pace. The trail curved, then curved again, and again. I checked my GPS. It glitched. No bars, no elevation. Just a blinking dot that pulsed in place, like the device couldn't tell whether I was moving at all. And that's when I saw the cabin. It shouldn't have been there. No road, no chimney smoke, no power lines. Just this little one-story shack made of waterlogged timber, tucked behind a thicket of bramble that looked more like veins than vines. The windows were too small, covered in thick amber-tinted film that made them look like old teeth. A sign on the door, carved into the wood, said, "Rooms available. Ask for David." I don't know why I knocked. Maybe it was the fatigue. Maybe it was the chill that had started to creep into my spine like it had found a way under my skin. Maybe I just wanted to prove I wasn't scared. No answer. So I turned away. Then I heard it. Not from inside the cabin. From behind me. A voice like syrup poured too slow. "You're early." He stood at the edge of the trees. Tall. Thin. The kind of thin that looks deliberate. Bones like coat hangers under skin pulled too tight. His coat looked military surplus. Mud dappled. The patch on one shoulder so faded the letters had bled into each other. His face didn't match the voice. It was too smooth. Too young. Skin soft in places where the voice promised gravel. His eyes looked milky, but not blind. Like they'd seen too much sunlight and forgotten how to absorb it. He smiled, and the woods leaned in. "David?" I managed. "You're early," he said again. "But that's all right." He walked without sound. No crunch of leaves, no snap of twigs. Just a glide that made my teeth ache. "I don't need a room," I said, stepping back. His grin stayed pinned to his face. "Oh, you will." He gestured to the path behind me. Gone. What had been trail just moments before was now wall-to-wall trees. No gap. No mud. No exit. I felt my skin tighten at the base of my skull. "There's no loop," he said, as if reading my thoughts. "Just a spiral. and you're already in it. He turned and walked toward the cabin, not bothering to see if I followed. I didn't want to. Every instinct screamed to run, to claw at the trees until they bled bark and let me through. But I followed, because he had the only door left. Inside, the cabin was worse than expected. The floor sloped slightly, so everything leaned. The wallpaper peeled in long, curled tongues. Furniture was covered in white sheets, stained yellow in places that suggested things seeped upward from the floorboards. He motioned to a chair. I sat. He lit a lantern. The flame glowed black-blue, casting shadows in the wrong direction. Then he knelt beside the fireplace and began to draw. Chalk, circles within circles, symbols like malformed letters that flickered when I blinked. A design that made the floor look deeper than it was, as if staring into it long enough might let you fall. He didn't speak, just hummed. A low, tuneless hum, like a lullaby, or something that never slept. And then he pulled out the knife. It was long, serrated, clean, too clean. He held it like an old friend, one thumb brushing the handle, like it had told him secrets once and he was trying to remember. "You've brought it with you," he said. I stood up, knocked over the chair. "What the hell are you talking about?" He didn't flinch, just looked at me with his milky, eager eyes. "It's in you. I just have to let it out." I don't remember lunging, just the sound, the sick crunch of wood against bone. My hand found the chair leg on instinct, swung it into his shoulder, then again into his ribs. He fell like a sack of sticks. No scream, no groan. Just that same smile, cracking wider, like paper tearing. Ran. The cabin door flew open. The woods opened with it. The trail was there again. This time, I didn't look back. I don't know how long I ran. The trees didn't end. The cold followed me like a second skin. My mouth bled from where I'd bitten my tongue. My hands shook so hard, I thought my bones might splinter out from underneath. When I finally stumbled out near a ranger station the next morning, the sun felt like something unfamiliar. I told them I got lost, that I hallucinated. Dehydration. Exposure. They believed me, or maybe they just wanted to. I still check my GPS sometimes. Every now and then, the dot pulses on its own. Even when I'm home. Even when I haven't moved in hours. Like something's still mapping me, tracing the spiral, waiting for me to step back in. And once, just once, I saw a review for a cabin on a forum I swear was deleted. Rooms available. Ask for David.